My hair is getting wild. Whew. It's out of control. Need a haircut real bad. 2 essential principles to follow to heal your chronic pain and illness. Every Saturday, me and my good friend, Alex Klassen, who is an amazing therapist in this field, he was a big contributor putting together our digital course. Every Saturday, we meet for a couple of hours and we're refining our approach. We're refining how our approach can be the most effective to helping people recover from their chronic pain and chronic illness. And a couple months ago, we were defining like these guiding principles. Like, what are the principles that people are following that are actually healing? And we really thought long and hard about it. I considered my own recovery from chronic pain and symptoms, but also the many clients I've seen fully recover or partly recover from their symptoms. And we came up with 2 guiding principles that we really believe people need to follow to recover. In these 2 principles, it's not like you're just going to do them both evenly, like you might be doing one more at one point and the other more at a different point. But consistently, when I've seen people heal, they are doing these 2 things. Now, in my approach on my channel, I outline a lot of different strategies. I have a complex approach to help you heal, but these 2 principles are really what are guiding these strategies and the purpose behind them. And so the first principle, you've heard me talk about it before, exposure. The people that are recovering are approaching things. They're approaching their pain and physical symptoms. They're approaching their difficult emotions within. They're approaching their nervous system state. And they're approaching movement, activities, and widening their world, making their life bigger. Exposure is essential. A lot of times what I'll see people do is they're using the strategies, but they're almost using the strategies and practices as avoidance. They're doing it to try to make their pain or symptoms go away, to try and make their difficult emotions go away, change their nervous system state as quick as they can. And so they might be using somatic tracking, embodiment practices. They could be using emotional practices or nervous system regulation. And I love all these techniques, but if your feeling of why you're doing it underneath, if the drive underneath is from a place of avoidance, it keeps people stalled. It keeps people from actually healing. The people that I see healing are actually approaching. They're driving forward at a gentle, compassionate, slow pace, but they're widening things. They're widening their ability to attend to things internally and to live life externally, widen their world. And this is essential because it teaches our brain as we start to actively approach something, even though it's unpleasant or scary, if we actively approach it, it teaches our brain that we're actually safe to do that thing. The more avoidance we use, the worse things will get. This is something I taught many years ago in my career when we look at anxiety. One of the worst things for anxiety long-term is avoidance. We just avoid anything and everything. And then when I came to working in chronic pain and symptoms, I realized that same principle applies. If people are just doing everything to avoid the sensations and run away from them, it actually will worsen them over time. And so exposure is key. And I don't say this lightly because I know exposure is a really difficult thing to start to cultivate and work on. It is. It's really hard. It's scary, whether it's internal things, internal sensations, or whether it's externally starting to live life more. The more we can use this principle of exposure, the better we're going to actually be able to heal, and typically the quicker, to be honest. Now, I want to stay clearly here. Some avoidance is okay. There are points when sensations, even in my body, not pain and symptoms anymore, but like emotions or dysregulation, it's just too intense to get exposure to. And so some avoidance can be okay. And I'm going to explain the second key principle to healing in a second, and it really falls on this. But when we feel like it's at a mild to moderate level, the sensations internally, or we can approach things in our life with mild to moderate dysregulation, that's when we need to be doing this exposure. So a little bit at a time, chip away at exposure. It will help you heal, I promise. If you've been doing this work for a while and you are stalled out, just start to think, am I using this strategy? Am I doing this practice? Am I living life in a way that is out of a place of avoidance, or is it out of a place of approaching? Because this guiding principle underneath is going to determine the effectiveness level of it. Now, the second principle that you need to be doing to guide your healing and to actually recover is safe connection. So we talked about exposure, internally, externally. But as we do exposure, we also need safe connection. We need to have a felt sense of safety, even if it's just mild, as we do the exposure work. Safety is key. It is the cure for chronic pain and chronic illness. Danger level, how dysregulated we are perpetually, typically is going to trigger and perpetuate neuroplastic pain and symptoms. And so safety is the cure. We need to learn to feel safe with the pain and symptoms so we can approach them with exposure, but we feel safe with them. If you want a whole embodiment practice to help you do this, I'll link it up above and put it down below. These two principles are guiding that: exposure, safe connection. We also need to do the same with emotions, because difficult emotions are never going to feel nice. They feel unpleasant to us. Even for myself, yesterday I was feeling a lot of stress and pressure, and I gave myself exposure to being in my body with it, and I cultivated safety with it. Now, doing this, whether it's with pain or symptoms, emotions, dysregulation, we cultivate safety using safety signals. And I have a whole video on safety signals and how you can achieve this. I'll put that up above and down below. That video is meant for it to be a one-on-one on safety, and there's a practice attached so you can explore trying different safety signals out to see which creates the most safety and connection within. Safety and connection is key here. It's not always calmness. We can have anxiety and still have safe connection with it. We can get exposure into anxiety and cultivate safety with it without feeling perfectly calm. Calm and safety are not the same thing. They can be, but safety can occur without calmness. So don't try and force calmness. That's why we call this principle safe connection, because you're connecting to things internally or externally to you, and you're in the present with it. You have a sense of compassion and ease as you attend to whatever is going on within or whatever is going on externally to you. So these are the two guiding principles that you really need to be practicing: exposure and safe connection. Like I mentioned at the beginning, the balance of what one you're doing more is going to shift day to day. So be flexible with it. Some days when I was healing from my chronic pain, I could really approach things. I could give myself exposure. I could attend to emotions. I could push myself to do more activity. And then other days, I needed more safe connection. I was feeling a lot of dysregulation, so I had to really use a lot of the safety signals. But if you're doing one too much or doing neither at all, you're not going to heal. If you're doing neither, we need to start doing that. That's going to help you heal. But if you're just doing exposure or if you're just doing safe connection, it kind of puts our healing out of balance. And so I want everyone to reflect after watching this video, what one am I doing more of right now? And then you want to include the other one. You want to increase it. So if you're doing a lot of exposure, but you're feeling a lot of danger, you're pushing a little too hard, you might want to back that off a bit and do a little bit more safe connection. So there's a balance between these two elements that are taking place as you're healing. So I hope this video was helpful. Please put your questions or comments down below. Hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you all soon. Take care.